A business leader at a customer of mine identified that one of the biggest issues that they've got at the moment is that their team members are not having high value one-to-one conversations with their line managers. As a result, employees aren't continuously improving their performance, they're not taking on new responsibilities, they're not progressing towards their own career goals consistently. And it also means that line managers don't feel like the one-to-ones that they're having are worthwhile. And they're even considering reducing the frequency from weekly to fortnightly, or fortnightly to monthly, or monthly to quarterly, or whatever. Yet, one-to-ones between managers and their direct reports can be one of the most useful tools for improving team performance. So, what should they do? How do they have better career-growing conversations with their managers? And so I'm going to talk you through an approach that has worked really well for our business. It's something that but at SpiderCap and at AIrManual and other teams that I've worked with, we've found it really powerful to use this approach. And as a result, I believe that the one-to-ones that I have with my team members and that my other managers have with their team members are not only valuable to the employee and supportive of them in terms of developing their career and addressing their top areas to improve and helping them play to their strengths and just building the personal relationship with the manager, but also they're really useful for us as managers because it allows us to focus our time and attention on what's most valuable, rather than feel like we have to kind of support that person's development on a ad hoc basis and constantly get pulled into meetings. Instead, we can focus that time with them in these one-to-ones, but also it gives us an opportunity to think about, reflect, and help the employee to address any performance issues. And if performance is great, then move to the next level, take on more responsibilities, delegate some of the work that us as managers have to them, or support them in pursuing other career goals and ambitions. And as a result, I've received feedback that I'm the best manager that my direct reports have ever had. And that's awesome, particularly because when I first started out as a manager, I was A, awful at it, and B, had been told in the past that I would never make a good manager and that I should just stay as a consultant. But not only have I been able to make that shift, but perhaps more importantly, and something that I'm more excited about, is the fact that the managers within my own businesses and those that I've worked with, they are regarded as some of the, if not the best managers that their direct reports have ever worked with. And that's not because they've been hired as professional managers. They were hired for being fantastic in their roles and being good values fits and all those sorts of things. But they've been able to use the methodologies and so on that we've provided to help them be really good managers. And one of the ways in which that we do that is by supporting these better career-growing conversations between the employees and the managers. So what I'm going to do is talk you through one of the techniques that we use to do that. But the nice thing about this particular technique is that it will work well for you even standalone. There are plenty of other things that I would need to do to share and so on that would perhaps help in other ways, but the thing that but this particular technique would work really well even on standalone. So let me share this. So this is a checklist that we've created in AIrManual, and it's something that we use with our own team to help them to plan their personal development. And so this is a checklist that's provided to them, and if you've got an AIrManual account, you can copy this to your workspace, you can amend it to better fit your organization, and then people can click use checklist and actually follow this through and fill in the various fields. But you can see that it explains that this is a guided checklist to help the employee to manage their personal development. The reason for this is because one of the most powerful things that you can do to support better career growing conversations between employees and managers is to encourage and to help the employees to prepare for those conversations. Now, whether or not they use this on a weekly or whatever basis, it matters a bit less. But if they're never doing that, that's more of the problem. So within our team, we require all of our team to do this on a quarterly basis, but they are welcome to revisit this on a more regular, and indeed some of the more high-performing members of the team will make sure that they come back to this on a weekly basis. What the checklist supports them in doing is, at a high level, reviewing the big picture. And we'll talk about exactly what sorts of prompts they need to do that. Then set their personal development goals, and then finally plan and take action. Because ultimately, they won't get value from this exercise or their one-to-ones with their managers unless they are planning and taking action. It's no good just to have a useful conversation. They need to do something with it. So you'll see that in this particular template, there's some bits where they can fill in some information, which makes it really good because they can then share the checklist as they complete it with their manager, so their manager can review their answers and prep. But if we go through in the stages, you'll see firstly we've got reviewing the big picture and setting some goals. So reviewing the big picture. So that consists of looking at career goals, personal goals, job responsibilities, projects and OKRs, which stands for objectives and key results. So essentially the kind of projects or goals or priorities that they're working to that aren't necessarily their business as usual job responsibilities, and also feedback from others. So let's dive into reviewing the big picture. When you come to reviewing the big picture, one of the first places that is a great place for an employee to start is to think about their career goals, because getting clear on their career goals makes it much easier for them to plan their personal development. Now, it might be that they start with some existing career goals, but often it's useful to really challenge and reflect on whether they're still relevant. And we've got some great questions in here on how to, on what sorts of questions that you can use to ask yourself to help identify what your career goals should be. For example, what would need to happen for me to be happy and fulfilled in 12 months' time? Or what would need to happen for me to be happy and fulfilled in 3 years' time? Or do I want to take on more responsibility? Do I want to try different roles? Do I want to grow as a specialist? Do I want to become a mentor, line manager, or leader? Do I want to continue in this organization or try something else? Do I want to build my personal brand outside the company? Do I want to change my work-life balance? These are all great questions that an employee can ask themselves to think about what are the things that they want to be doing in their career in future. And for someone in a new role that they've only recently started, it may be as simple as saying, I want to get good at this role. I want to master this particular role as salesperson or customer support agent or whatever it is. But obviously, over time, if they repeat this exercise and they hit that career goal, they can then reset that and identify what's next. Those career goals should be SMART, which means that they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So not just giving a career goal like, oh, I want to grow my personal brand, or I want to become become a line manager, or something like that. Instead, it should be really specific and time-bound and measurable, achievable, and relevant. So, for example, within 6 months, I want to grow my LinkedIn following to 5,000 followers. Or within 3 years, I want to become a line manager. Or within 5 years, I want to reduce my hours to 80% of the week, essentially doing a 4-day week, or whatever it is. So it's thinking about once they've reflected on what they'd like their career goals to be, how do you make that really specific and measurable and so on. So they should reflect on their short-term career goals within the next 12 months, but also their longer-term career goals, and really reflect on what's changed. How have their career goals shifted? Because that's a useful thing for them to share with their line manager, rather than expecting that their line manager is just constantly aware of their career goals. If they make that specific and overt and explicit to the line manager, it makes it really easy for that line manager to bear that in mind when they're having those career development conversations. So that's what an employee should do when starting to review the big picture, is to start off with the career goals. Next, they can look at their personal goals. So these might relate to a wide range of areas such as their physical or mental health, family, friends, community, gaining new skills that aren't related to work, just enjoying their time off or whatever. And of course, they don't need to share those with their line manager, but of course, the more that they do share, the more that the manager can support them, whether it's making sure that they're making progress against purchasing a house, or making sure that or encouraging that the employee to take regular breaks, or make sure they're doing the regular exercise or whatever. And it's up to the employee to decide how much they want to involve their manager and how much they trust their manager in that process. I've found that some of the most rewarding personal development moments that I've had with my team have been when they've achieved personal goals like buying a house, or hitting personal health or fitness goals, or achieving certain things in their relationships or whatever. And the nice thing is, I've not had to get involved. I've not had to have particularly deep and meaningful conversations, although that has happened. But I say that because some managers worry about having to have those. And you don't have to, because you can just ask questions as a coach. As the manager, by being aware of those goals, you can just ask. So, how's that going? You said on a previous conversation you're looking to make sure that you exercise every day. How's the last week gone? And so by doing that, you're helping that individual look after themselves, achieve things successfully within their personal life, which in my experience generally means that they end up a happier, healthier, more energetic and higher performing employee. So it works for the organization as well as the individual. So that's a really great thing that you can encourage the employees to do, to kind of reflect on those and share them where appropriate. Another thing that they can then reflect on as part of the big picture is that the employees should think about their job responsibilities, reminding themselves of what are these specific roles, responsibilities that I hold, and where are the potential areas for personal development. And it might be that you've got a job description or whatever that they can copy those from, or it might be that they need to draft that and share that with the manager. And actually, if that doesn't exist, that's a really useful conversation for the manager to have with the employee to make sure that they're both on the same page in terms of what that person's responsibilities are. But you can get them to think about their current job responsibilities, what additional responsibilities they're expecting to take on, and where do they need any to grow their expertise or experience to support those new responsibilities. And that's a really effective way of both the employee thinking about what do they want to do in future, or what do they feel they need to do in future, but also for the manager to then, again, check whether that's aligned with their own understanding, and make sure, from the line manager's perspective, they should make sure that they are aligned in terms of what the employee's responsibilities are, but also how they should be changing in future. But also, how are they performing against those existing job responsibilities? Because it's unlikely that the employee should be taking on new responsibilities if they're not performing in their current ones. And so that's a great opportunity for the employee to reflect on that and then to have a discussion with the manager. As part of reviewing the big picture, they should also review their projects and any objectives and key results that they've been set that aren't just part of business as usual. This will help the employee to reflect on any potential areas for personal development, any issues that they're currently having, any blockers that they've got that are stopping them make progress on their projects, but also it'll help them to identify what are the key results that either they are delivering on track or off track and need help with, or struggling to define, or even where there are opportunities for them to take on projects, objectives or key results. And so again, that can support a great conversation with a line manager to talk about where are they going with those, where are they at, what do they need from the line manager in terms of blockers. So these are really great prompts that you can use with an employee to help them to really reflect before they're having these career growth conversations with the manager as part of a one-to-one, as part of a quarterly, whatever. So reviewing the big picture, we've covered so far the career goals, the personal goals, the job responsibilities, and their projects. And finally, I'd recommend that the employee reflects on the big picture. They look at the feedback that they've had from others. So it might be that they look at potential areas for personal development based on performance reviews, 360 feedback that they've had, feedback shared on calls with colleagues, feedback shared with the manager in one-to-ones, because all of that can be really useful for them to identify where are the strengths that they can play to, what are the areas that they need to make more use of, what are the areas that they most need to improve, so that those can be considered as part of their reflection of the big picture of what needs to happen in their career and their role. So that's how they can review the big picture. If you've got any questions, comments, thoughts about that section of this checklist, please do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear any other things that you would expect to see in this list, or what you've found most useful from these. Which are the areas that when if you're a manager, that you've had conversation with employees, or if you're an employee, when you've had conversation with your line manager, what's been most useful here? Where have you had value in the past from reflecting on these areas? And indeed, which of these that you most commonly miss out? Because all of these are really, really valuable for helping you to review the big picture. Once the employee's done that, they've gone through that reflection, and bear in mind at this point, they can reflect on all of these without first sharing it with the manager. Next, they can prioritize. What are the areas that they're going to work on? Because there may be many areas that an employee can improve, whether it's progress towards their career goals, addressing gaps in their existing job responsibilities, taking on new responsibilities, unblocking projects they're working on, addressing pieces of feedback they've had. But that can be pretty overwhelming. And so it's important for employees and managers and all of us to prioritize. What's the specific 1, 2, 3 areas that you can work on as a priority, perhaps within the next sort of 6 months? So pulling out those areas to work on is really, really powerful. And sort of in terms of some examples, so it might be becoming a senior manager or a senior account manager, including getting experience on senior account manager calls, understanding where else they need to grow. That might be a specific thing that if they want to take on that senior account manager role, that might be the specific focus. Or it might be that they want to exercise more often, or finish on time more often, or give proactive updates on project issues and challenges. Whatever it is, they should be really specific about prioritizing what are the areas they want to work on. Then, based on those areas, they can then set personal development goals. So specific, smart personal development goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So getting really specific now about what are the specific goals that they want to achieve that take them towards the area that they're wanting to work on, which take them towards either addressing that gap in their job responsibilities or take them towards their career goals or whatever. So getting really specific about what those goals are. And once they've done that reflection and they've come up with those personal development goals, it's then worth sharing it with their manager, even if they don't feel like they've done a particularly good job of it. Even if they feel like it's not quite right, that's the point at which they can share it with the manager and discuss it on a one-to-one. And even if they don't share it in advance, having that discussion with a manager is so powerful. Having that one-to-one between the employee and the line manager, where the employee shares their reflections on their performance, on their career, on their responsibilities, their projects, the feedback they've had, and what they think their personal development goals should be. And for the manager to then hear that, ask questions, probe, help the employee to consider and improve their answers, and ultimately agree those goals, is incredibly powerful and will result in much better results from the employee and better alignment with the manager, and as a result, the manager gets better performance out of the individual. But also for the employee, they're able to get much more success. They're able to have much more valuable conversation with their manager and ultimately grow their career as a result. They're able to take those steps, address those goals week in and week out, to improve their performance, play to their strengths, and ultimately to meet their career goals. And that works for everyone. When you've got your employees that are happy and developing and growing and achieving the most important things in their life and having maximum energy and so on, and you've got managers who feel aligned with their employees and are able to give feedback and share suggestions and coach the employee to address issues and take on new responsibilities and level up, and they can delegate work to them, and they can get them into new roles that deliver more value. That is when you can have a high-performing organization, and when you can really get that value from those conversations between the employees and the line managers. So those are my recommendations, or that's my the main tool that I would recommend for supporting those conversations with between the employee and the line manager. There's also some guidance here in this checklist about then how to review progress and plan small steps to make sure that they're making continuous improvements and taking action and reflecting on that on a regular basis as part of their weekly or fortnightly one-to-ones. But fundamentally, they should start by reviewing the big picture and setting some goals. And if you encourage your employees to do that before they're having those conversations with line managers, and ideally even share that with line managers, and it doesn't have to be every week, but I would recommend that it's certainly at least once a quarter, then your employees will have better career-growing conversations with the managers, and the managers will get more value out of them. Now, if you'd like this checklist to help you to share that with your employees, with your managers, it's available for you. I will share a link in the comments below so that you can get access to that. If you've got an AIrManual account, you can copy it to your workspace so that you can both edit it to better meet your organization, but also allow your employees to click use checklist and then actually follow through this and tick things off and fill it in and share the link with managers with what they've filled in. Whereas if you're just using this version, you can only read through it and not interact with it. If you haven't already got an AIrManual account, then do check out AIrManual, which is available at AIrManual.co. It's a really powerful tool for documenting your processes and your onboarding as interactive checklists. It's powerful not just for employee development and performance management, but also for documenting all parts of your business and in terms of the processes and policies and so on. It's a great place to have everything in one place, searchable and so on. You can schedule a demo with a member of the team to both learn a bit more, but also to set up your workspace and get started right away and try it out for free. Highly recommend doing that at AIrManual.co, and then just click on schedule your demo to pick a date and time that suits you. But regardless of whether you do that or not, I'm going to share the link with you so that you can review this guide on how to plan personal development, which is a great resource to share with employees and managers to help them have better career-growing conversations. If this video has been useful for you, please let me know. Let me know which bits of it have chimed with you the most, which are the areas that you've either done in the past well or are committing to doing in future. If there's anything else that you would find value, or you've got questions for me on how else we do this, because honestly, this is an area that we have significantly invested our time and effort and learning, and have got some amazing tools and processes around this area, because it was an area that we were previously super weak in when we first started in business and when we first started employing and managing people. So this is something that we've now got really good at, largely supported by the tools and templates and techniques that we've developed. So if you've got a question about managing people, having one-to-ones, improving those conversations, developing your staff, managing the performance, whatever it is, or anything related to other processes, send me a message or reply in the comments to let me know, and perhaps I can cover it in a future video. But otherwise, I hope this has been useful. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck with your future conversations with your employees. I hope you can get a lot of value out of them.